Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, I'm going to react to 10 crazy things I got wrong about America the first time I went there. So this video is by Diane Jennings, and it's going to be fun just to see another person from, the UK, Ireland, go to America and, talk about the misconceptions that they had before they went there. Because, I had a certain idea of the things that I would see in America. This time that I went, I've been before, but because I did so many places this time, I had an idea of what to expect in each place, and I was right about some things, but I was wrong about a lot of them. So it's going to be fun to see if me and Diane have any similarities in our perspectives, in what we got right and wrong. So it should be a really fun video.
So when I was going through my list of video ideas for the week and deciding what to do, I came across this one, and apparently I've just been scrolling past it on a weekly basis because it's such an obvious video for me to do on this channel. I can't believe I haven't done it already. Whenever you decide to visit somewhere new as a person, you definitely go in with some of your assumptions and things that you've heard about a place, and you could definitely call those prejudices and biases. And when I went to America for the first time, I definitely brought a lot of that with me because as I've said before, in Ireland we grow up watching people on the TV and film, and a lot of our pop culture comes from America, so we think we know about America until we go there. Today I thought it would be fun if we looked at a couple of things that I presumed before I went there that turned out to be wrong.
So wrong.
This video is going to kind of sum up a lot of things I've said before, but I haven't collectively put them all together in one cohesive list. I hope it's cohesive. As always, this is a list. It's full of generalizations. I'm not specifically talking about you as an individual, Chad. Yeah, Chad's now going to be the collective term for all those commenters. Before I get into the list, be sure to subscribe. Otherwise, the next time you go to eat your favorite food, you're going to be like, I don't like this anymore. And that's a little heartbreaking. And on with the list. Coming in at number 10, it was thinking of America as a country when it's kind of more like a continent. Before I went to America, I definitely approached it in the way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because some of the countries, the culture is so different, so different.
Going to France or Italy or Spain for the first time.
Qui êtes-vous? Je croyais n'être qu'un uniforme.
I was thinking of it as a collective culture and that everybody was kind of similar and that the climate would be similar. Even though I knew on an intellectual level everywhere was different, I sort of hadn't put together the fact that each state was like a little country. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely common traits among American people and American lifestyles, but there are also huge differences as well. Culturally and climate-wise, you can get totally different places right next to each other. And the people have totally different approaches to life as well. For example, in LA, people in shops kiss your ass because they work on commission, whereas in New York they're really rude to you because they're in New York. People are overall just very different in each state, though they do share commonalities. So yeah, going in, I definitely think...
Yeah, definitely. New York, the people seemed a lot more rushed than in LA, where the people seemed a lot more relaxed and slow.
If it's your first time going there, think of each state like a country as opposed to a county, if that makes sense. Coming in at number 9, it's thinking that because you're from a Western country and America is a Western country, that you'll have everything in common, whereas you just won't. Americans have very different approaches to Irish people, for example, to things. I think a good way to describe it is it's just a different rhythm there. A general sense of humor with American people can be different, although individuals will click with each other on an individual level as things tend to go.
I like you. You're funny and you're nicely shaped.
There's definitely a lot more sensitivities in America, so you have to be a bit more careful about what you say and who you say it to. And at the same time, you also have to be really direct, which sounds like a contradiction in itself, but hear me out. American people in general tend to just be very direct with each other. They'll say what they're thinking.
Yeah, more so than here, for sure. Although I will say maybe politics. Actually, no, I'd say politics... Yeah, I think Americans are more direct, for sure.
Irish people sort of beat around the bush,
which I like.
And we're all kind of tuned into that. Because in America, people are just straight up with each other. Subtlety is not such a big thing there. So in the same way, when you make a joke, for example, people can sometimes take it at surface level, like what you say is what you mean, whereas you're just kind of making a joke. So you need to bear in mind that people think that way there. The next thing, and I'm going to touch on this without getting into it too much if possible, is that guns affect the culture. So before I went to America, I was aware that gun culture was a thing and that they have guns, whereas coming from Ireland, I'd never really seen a gun before. A lot of people pointed out that the Troubles were in Ireland and I should have seen a gun, but I didn't grow up around the Troubles. And also some people questioned about our police force. Most of our police force do not have guns. Only the special forces have guns. And honestly, I haven't been in a situation where I've had to be around the special forces much in my life. Haven't robbed too many banks.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think from what I've seen about American culture, you've got like a lot of like people who take pride in owning a lot of guns, and you know, like gun ownership is something that they really are in favor of, and they often like talk about it and stuff like that. It's a big part of their personality and stuff. Whereas here, because you can't own one, it's not a thing here.
So yeah, the first time I ever saw a gun was when I went to America. And people in America are hugely passionate about how they feel about guns, whether they're pro or against. There doesn't seem to really be any middle ground. So my advice, if you are going to America, try not to get into a gun debate with anyone, irrespective of how they feel, because I definitely feel like I would need to be a bit more informed about the whole thing before I got into a deep conversation about it. I remember people saying that my Black Friday in Texas was so chill because people are very polite in Texas because they're all afraid of getting shot by each other's guns. Now, I don't exactly think that's the case, but I do think the knowledge that there are guns out there affects how people are. Not saying if that's good or bad.
I really wanted to go to a firing range, but yeah, we just couldn't. We went to one, but they said because we didn't have any experience, we couldn't fire the weapons because they didn't have any staff that they could do like a training for us. Because I wanted to feel what it was like, you know.
Just saying, it surprised me.
I was on the fence about this.
The next thing I got wrong about America before I went there was how to tip. So in Ireland, you tip 10% on a bill. And you tend to tip if you've had a really nice dinner or something, but not so much if you go to a diner, and not so much if you get your nails done unless you really want to. Tipping in Ireland is if somebody did a really good job, you leave a 10% tip. When I've gone to other countries in Europe, it actually tends to be even less than 10%. You'll just leave a couple of coins or whatever you have in your pocket.
Yeah, literally, if you go for a burger or a meal, and let's say your meal was like $18.70 or whatever, like you would just leave a 20, and that, you know, tell them to keep the change.
In America, the standard tip on everything is 20%, and this blew my mind. I did not realize that you have to tip for everything in America. And you guys have given me some really good advice on how to tip and stuff like that, which has been much appreciated in my travels. I understand that tipping comes from people's minimum wage not being enough to sustain themselves, and that's why you guys tip. I've definitely gotten more used to it, but it does kind of blow my mind, the whole tipping culture. And when I get back to Ireland, I'm still in this weird tipping mentality, and I find myself tipping everyone, and in Ireland people are like, oh, thanks. Nobody is going to turn down a 20% tip in Ireland, but it is unusual. I also did not realize people are nice to you for tips in America. When this dawned upon me, it kind of broke my heart a bit, I'm not going to lie. I just thought all the waiters and waitresses were really nice in America, but they just want my money. The next thing
Is it true that if you don't tip in a restaurant, that they might ask you like why haven't you tipped? I read somewhere on Reddit that they got chased out of a restaurant because they didn't tip. That can't be true. And like they're not going to chase you out of the restaurant, are they?
Estimated before I went to America was how extreme things get there. Because there are so many people, you have like some major extremes going on in your country, and it's easy for people to overlook things because there are just so many people. The first time I went to America, I was really surprised by the weight thing.
34% of American adults, 17% of our children are considered obese.
I also was kind of blown away by the homeless population.
Nearly 700,000 Americans experience homelessness on any given night in the country.
Also on extreme things, people tend to be super extra over there. When I'm in a room full of American people, I definitely sometimes feel like a bit of a wallflower because there's just so many people with such big personalities. But I guess the quieter people like me would also feel like they are fading into the background a little. We're just quieter about it. The next thing I got wrong was thinking that where I went was not super relevant. Yes, I'm touching back on that time I went into Compton. I've said to you guys before that in Ireland there aren't really these kind of super unsafe places to go. You can go pretty much anywhere once you keep your wits about you. But in America, there are definitely places that people are very surprised that you would go to. When visiting America, you need to drive and you need to plan out where you're going a lot more than I did the first time I went there. You can't just wander around America as...
Which, you know, I quite like to do. Like often we would just pick a random place, you know, in London or wherever and just go there for the day. Like Compton is somewhere like that you shouldn't go to. Like really, even if you were just to like stay in the safe part. Is there a safe part of Compton, or like where's the I think Chicago has some dangerous areas. So are they like no-go zones? Just don't go there. Because even what about if you stay in your car? Like what if you just drive through just to see what it's like?
Mistakenly thought the first time I went there. Who knew?
You shouldn't be here.
The next thing I did not realize before I went to America was how much national pride there is. And I actually think this is a really lovely thing. Americans put flags everywhere on everything, and they can quote the Constitution to you. If you paid me $1 million, I could not tell you one thing from the Irish Constitution. When the anthem is played in America, people cry. In Ireland, people barely know the words to the anthem.
I mean, we never really tried before.
And for the most part, American people are just really proud of their country. But they also have a lot of negative things to say about it. And that is freedom of speech. The next thing I did not realize before I went to America is the abundance of fast food that you can have there.
Yeah, when we landed at JFK, I was just astounded at the amount of American flags everywhere. And there was one huge one. Like when we got to the security lines where they like scan your bags and they ask you what you're doing in the country and take your fingerprints, there was this absolutely massive American flag on the ceiling. It took up almost like the whole ceiling. I'd never seen a flag that big in real life.
In Ireland, there's maybe a dozen big fast food chains. In America, there are hundreds, and they are literally everywhere. Fast food for a lot of people in America is a way of life, and I didn't really realize that so much. I think the convenience of it and stuff makes it that way for people. It's quick, it's easy, it's literally everywhere.
And the portions are massive.
Also, fast food is really delicious and addictive, so the people who don't eat fast food are kind of more the exception than people who eat fast food at least once a week. If I lived there, I would eat fast food pretty much every
Oh my God, yes.
The next thing I did not realize before I went to America is how much people want to put you in a category when you get there. People want to know your belief system right out the gate. I think because America is so big, people trying to find their own communities and people who agree with them on certain things and have the same outlook as them, there's a desire for a sense of belonging. And I think that can be a good thing and it can be a negative thing. People will outright ask what your political system is, what your ethnicity is, and stuff like that.
What are you?
From the perspective of an outsider, it definitely seems to me like people want to belong to certain groups. Feel free to discuss that one in the comments in a respectful...
Is that true? Like Americans watching this, that you like to categorize like people. Is that true? I wouldn't say that I experienced that when I was there, to be honest with you. Yeah, I wouldn't say so.
It's just something I observed. And the number one thing I underestimated before I went to America was how big the American dream is and the infinite possibilities that you have in America. When I went to America for the first time, I was taken aback at how huge the possibilities are. And I hadn't really realized in Ireland the limitations that we have. There's kind of only so far that you can go, only so successful that you can be in a small country like Ireland. In America, no matter what you want to be, you can be that and 1,000,000 times more. And that's the American dream. And people go there in pursuit of the American dream, and some people get it and some people don't. But there's something really
At
nice
least,
about
yeah,
the
possibility.
being kind of endless there. Not only can you be rich, you can be crazy rich. Not only can you be famous, you can be crazy famous. And there's loads of people who are doing that. I was only reading this week how the highest paid presenter in Ireland gets €500,000 a year, which obviously is a lot of money, but when you compare...
Yeah, the highest paid American presenter is probably on like tens of millions. Who would that be? Someone like Ryan Seacrest maybe, or I'm trying to think who else. Like Oprah doesn't do her show anymore. I'm guessing Ryan Seacrest.
To the American wages, Jesus Christ. It's definitely something I would imagine if I lived in America, I would kind of take for granted. But basically the possibilities are out there and you can go out and you can take them. So, you know, it's only Monday. Go do that this week. And that's it for today's list. Feel free to engage with one another.
Great video. I agree with a lot of what she said. I really want to visit the next time I come to America, which will probably be next year. I want to visit more of like normal America, because I went to the very touristy parts. I went to, this year anyway, I went to LA, Vegas, New York City, San Francisco, you know, the very touristy areas where, you know, mainly the people that you're going to come across there are tourists, and all the businesses there are going to cater to tourists. So I want to go to more like smaller cities, smaller towns, like just to see what the average American life is like, what to expect. Because I think my perspective and experience will probably be a lot different, probably better in a lot of ways. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.